The semi-loyal opposition is a more slippery category. These are actors who do not actively seek to overthrow democracy, but whose support for it is not absolute either. Under the right conditions, they may be willing to turn a blind eye to, or even support, an undemocratic power grab. The semi-loyal opposition is particularly important when it comes to democratic breakdown at the hands of extremist parties. Hitler's rise to power was made possible by multiple opportunistic politicians who thought they would be able to control him from the sidelines. They were wrong. Their biggest sin, however, was not their failure to appreciate Hitler's ruthlessness and cunning. It was their willingness to work with such a blatantly undemocratic figure in the first place. People loyal to democracy do not make deals with Nazis. How can we identify the disloyal and semi-loyal opposition before it is too late? In their 2018 book, How Democracies Die, the political scientists Stephen Levitsky and Daniel Ziblatt argue that there are certain telltale signs of disloyalty. If politicians reject the democratic rules of the game, for example, by saying they will not accept the results of an election unless they win, that is a red flag. If they baselessly deny the legitimacy of their opponents, that is a red flag. If they tolerate or encourage violence, that is a red flag. If they indicate a willingness to curb civil liberties, such as freedom of the press, that is a red flag. Semi-loyalty can be identified by looking at how actors respond to the kinds of behavior laid out in Levitsky and Ziblatt's litmus test. Do they stand pat, or do they call it out? The latter can be hard to do, especially when the disloyal behavior comes from one's own side. Being part of the loyal opposition, however, means putting the survival of democracy above one's partisan interests. Democracy breaks down when the disloyal opposition moves from the margins to center stage, and the semi-loyal opposition lets it happen. The question, then, is why in some places at some times the disloyal and semi-loyal opposition overtake the loyal opposition. There are many possible contributing factors. Economic crisis, for example, can bleed support for democracy. It is no coincidence that the Nazis' rise to power occurred against the backdrop of the Great Depression of the 1930s. Another potential factor is ethnic divisions and prejudices, which can provide an opportunity for unscrupulous politicians to win power by appealing to people's worst instincts. But perhaps the biggest boost to the disloyal and semi-loyal opposition comes from the interrelated factors of polarization and fear.